Thank you, Ken. Thank you so much. It is now my pleasure to introduce Rick Pelstill, Chancellor Professor at the University of Massachusetts School of Law and an officer of the World Association for Research on Workplace Mobbing. Professor Pelstill is a distinguished legal scholar whose work spans constitutional law, media law, and civil liberty. He has been a strong supporter of WORM, the World Association for Research on Workplace Mobbing, and our effort to advance research, education, and awareness regarding workplace mobbing. Professor Pelstill will now introduce our first greeter, Lord Biggar. Please join me in welcoming Richard Pelstill.
And good morning to you. For this opening session of the third Niagara Conference on Workplace Mobbing, we're following the same procedure we have for 2 years for the first Niagara Conference, since the first Niagara Conference, which is namely to invite 3 distinguished senior scholars to give greetings by video to the conference participants. So this is a way of recognizing pioneers in research on mobbing, to honor them publicly for foundational contributions to the field. But it's also a way of obtaining their advice and guidance for how today we can develop the field further. Because these leading lights are in diverse academic disciplines, they demonstrate collectively that this initiative is interdisciplinary, that welcomes insights into the process of mobbing, no matter where it comes from. And because these luminary greeters come from far-flung corners of the globe, they show the global character of our initiatives here in Niagara, that we are indeed a world association for the advancement of science on this subject. So at our first conference, the 2024 3 greeters were Dr. Gorazd Mesko, criminologist at the University of Maribor, Slovenia, Dr. Ian Paste, a musicologist at the University of London, and Dr. Florencia Peña San Martin, anthropologist at Mexico's National School of Anthropology and History in Mexico City. At our second conference last year in 2025, our 3 greeters were Dr. Joan Friedenberg, linguistics professor emerita at the University of South Florida, Dr. Brian Martin, originally a physicist, now a social scientist at the University of Wollongong, New South Wales, Australia, and Dr. Linda Shawcross, Director of Workplace Mobbing Australia in Brisbane, Queensland. It's my great pleasure now to introduce the first of the 3 greeters for this third Niagara Conference on Workplace Mobbing, the Reverend Dr. Nigel Biggar, Emeritus Regius Professor of Moral Theology at the University of Oxford, and also the Right Honourable the Lord Biggar, a Baron, life peer, and member of the House of Lords in the United Kingdom. Professor Biggar is probably the UK's most notable example of a type of academic mobbing that has become common in recent years, a frontal attack on academic freedom that's necessary for universities and colleges to meet their public responsibilities. For the first 30 years after completing his PhD at the University of Chicago in 1986, Professor Biggar was more or less a normal, respected, highly achieving scholar. He taught at the University of Leeds and at Trinity College Dublin before moving to Oxford in 2007. He authored a string of well-reviewed books on topics expected of a moral theologian: war and peace, conflict, nationalism, euthanasia, assisted suicide. He also worked in applied ethics as an Anglican priest and later canon of Christ Church Cathedral at Oxford. A new research project that he launched in 2017, however, sparked a firestorm. Its title was Ethics and Empire. It would identify, as he said, what was bad and what was good about the British Empire and imperialism in general. And the very idea that there might be something good about imperialism so outraged some Oxford colleagues that they started a transnational campaign to discredit him and shut down his research. Petitions circulated denouncing him, bad publicity hung over him, and his co-investigator and his publisher jumped ship. Numerous observers and Professor Biggar himself said he was mobbed. He has fought back with considerable success alongside other professors through the Free Speech Union UK and through Academics for Academic Freedom, trying to prevent academic mobbings and to rescue current targets. Professor Biggar's most recent book, published just this year, is The New Dark Age: Why Liberals Must Win the Culture Wars. It's my honor to introduce Professor Nigel Biggar.
Hello, everyone. I'm very glad to bring you greetings from Oxford, England. I'm very glad to address those of you who are attending, whether in person or online, the Niagara Congress on workplace mobbing. I'm going to bring you good news in a moment, but just to explain a little about my own experience of workplace mobbing, so you know why I'm talking about it. I was, in 2017, a professor at the University of Oxford. In that year, I and a very eminent historian of empire launched a project called Ethics in Empire, designed to look at how people in the past viewed the empires of their day. Did they view them the same way that we tend to, namely as bad things? If not, why not? And what might we learn from people in the past? That was the idea of the 5-year series of annual conferences. Then in November of the same year, 2017, I published an article in the London Times newspaper arguing that we British or Canadians or Australians or New Zealanders, we can find in our colonial pasts reasons for both pride and shame and pride, both. About a week later, a Cambridge academic, having read about the Ethics in Empire project, tweeted her followers in Oxford, Cambridge and London, calling them to arms, with the immortal tweet, OMG, oh my God, this is serious, SHIT, we need to block capitals shut this down. And that precipitated a week's worth of 3 online denunciations, one by a set of Oxford students, the second by 58 Oxford colleagues, and the third by 195 academics worldwide, calling for the University of Oxford to take this project out of my hands and to shut it down, because in their view, no one should be allowed to hear what we had to say. Within 4 days of the first online denunciation, my eminent historian colleague resigned from the project without giving a plausible excuse, and the project was, in fact, postponed for 12 months until I could repair it. That was my first experience of online mobbing, and it wasn't just online, it was also personal, because although in fact I survived, my university did support me, lots of other colleagues and lots of other people watching what happened to me resolved to themselves never ever to say the things that I was saying and to attract that kind of aggression. And that's one of the things about mobbing that is public, that in addition to the grief suffered by the person being mobbed, thousands of people watch and resolve to keep their mouths shut, which is why this is so corrosive of a properly liberal society. Anyway, that was my experience. As a result, in 2019, I held a conference under the title Academic Freedom Under Threat, What is to be Done? And from that, a group of us continued to meet and to think about what to do about the problem. One of us went on to found the Free Speech Union in the UK in January 2020. I chair the Free Speech Union in the UK, and I'm very pleased to report that now the Free Speech Union has over 40,000 subscribing members, giving the FSU considerable resources to fund legal cases, to come to the defence of beleaguered people, and even to hold the UK government to account in court. And the FSU UK has generated sister organisations in New Zealand, Australia, South Africa, Switzerland, and Canada. And the FSU in the UK certainly has made a huge difference to the landscape in supporting people who are being mobbed and having their lawful freedom constrained. So I bring you good news. The war is not won, but we are gathering strength in the resistance, and we are scoring some significant victories. It is possible for people on the ground to gather together, to attract people with the resources, to put behind a plan, and to make a huge difference.